Welcome back to Movie Addicts Anonymous, MA for short. I'm David Briggs.
And I'm Alexis Briggs. And as we talked about last time, we went and saw the movie Ad Astra. So we decided that the best thing to do would be to call up David's little brother, Ben, because Ben works in Colorado for Lockheed Martin. So this is right up his alley. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
So,
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. So, we're going to talk about movie etiquette first before we ask Ben all kinds of questions, but he's just going to tag along so we don't have to make an awkward phone call halfway through. Okay, Dave, what are some of your pet peeves when going to the movies?
Well, when you're at the movies, it's deliberately on there that please silence your cell phones and talking. And that's not just like, hey, it's just there for there. They're saying that for a reason because it's annoying. It's annoying. I mean, your parents, just growing up, your teachers and everything, they tell you to treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's one of the things that really bugs me is the talking, I would say.
Yeah, Ben brought up a good point, though. Ben said that he went and saw Ad Astra this morning, and he said that someone a couple rows in front of him had their phone, silenced, but the brightness was still all the way up. So, Ben, how did that make you feel having... Because, technically they followed the rules. They turned the volume off.
Well... the movie didn't even start yet. It was still in the previews, but I love watching the previews.
Right, I feel like a lot of people do.
That's just kind of like your appetizer for the movie in a way. I like to think so. It's something cool to kind of get you excited for the movie, get you excited for other movies that you may want to see. But then, this guy had his phone out immediately as soon as he entered the theater, and his brightness was all the way up. And so the only thing I could see was his phone and him being on it.
Was he directly in front of you or a couple rows?
He was kind of diagonal from me.
Okay, so he wasn't even really in your sight line.
No, he was just he was at my 2 o'clock, and I was just like, okay, this is really distracting.
See,
and this person was probably in their 50s.
Oh, that's extra annoying. That'd be someone that would yell at us, people our age, for being on their phones.
Because as soon as before I even entered the theater, I texted the person that, my girlfriend, I texted my girlfriend, it's like, hey, I'm going to go in the movie theater, I'll talk to you after. And as soon as I sent the message, I put my phone in airplane mode, and I put it in my pocket, and I went in. It's just don't have it on you. You can survive 2 hours without being on your phone.
And if you can't, wait for it to stream or something. It's
not that
hard. It's not that... you wouldn't think it's that hard.
Yeah, because I feel like that's something that, when they made those, trailers that say, please, for the respect of the audience, silence your cell phones now, I feel like they forgot about the aspect that, you're in a dark room, and if you have that brightness all the way up, everyone's gonna see it. They just, kind of forgot that, oh, yeah, phones are bright,
Yeah, I don't know, it was just very distracting.
Yeah, I had the guy next to me yesterday, same thing. He did turn it off once the movie started, but same thing.
Yeah, all through the trailers he was dinking on it. Same with the couple next to me. Speaking of people sitting next to you, and one of my biggest pet peeves.
This is probably my top 2.
So, how it works here, I know that, back home in South Dakota, there's one theater that lets you do this, but, here... You buy your ticket, whether it's ahead of time or at the desk, at the cashier, you pick your seats. They have you assign seats as if you're attending a play.
And what are already...
Taken.
It's not it's a random draw and they're this is the one, which they used to do with, sports tickets
totally.
And stuff
Used to just be at random.
But... You know exactly where
what
you're
ones are
sit.
Already taken. So David and I bought our tickets online on Monday. So we were the very first people to buy tickets. And so we got the pick of the theater because nobody else had bought tickets yet. So we, of course, my preference is to sit 4 rows up, smack dab in the middle. So we picked tickets 4 rows up, smack dab in the middle, and there was probably, like, this is a big theater. It holds, like, 100 people, and there was probably only, like, 20 people in the theater last night, but 4 of those 20 people decided to sit right next to me and David. Like, that's so annoying. There's a whole theater. Like, sit one chair away from us. Why would you choose to sit right next to somebody else who's there?
It's like a hold my breath moment anytime when I'm in a theater. It's just like when someone comes in your row, my like anxiety, my social anxiety like comes up. I'm like, God, don't sit next to me.
You just don't like people touching you at all.
Yeah, Ben, you can tell. Yeah, there's a while back when we were kids. We were going to a Minnesota Twins game, and we had to take the subway, and it's just jam-packed in there, and my dad's like, God, I hate this, and our mom was just like, Richard, look at David, and I'm just trying to mind my own business, but I'm getting squished by 2 big people right next to me, and I'm like, God, I hate it.
Your face was just like just terror. I'm just sitting there like, fine, and just I'm fine. You're just like, get me out of here.
And it's like, and it's funny. I like going to like concerts and stuff like that. Doesn't mind me, but like someone just like in my personal space. I mean, when they know, I get it. Like there's movies.
Yeah.
Like It Chapter 2, that was a packed house.
And we went to The Lion King. That was also like, I get it if there's literally
Avengers, yeah.
If there are only 4 seats and left in the whole theater and they happen to be next to you, like, you can't help that.
But this is a 200-seating theater, and there was 20 people in there.
Yeah, it was really outrageous, is what it was.
Oh my gosh. And we're in the middle. There's one thing if we were on the side and then someone came in and sat next to us, I've done it before where I move a little bit because I'm just like, this isn't fair for them either.
Right.
So.
But maybe that's like the Midwestern in us, and all 3 of us.
Yesterday was good too because the guy had a big old bean burrito and...
Yeah, they brought food in, like outside food in from the theater.
There's a Chipotle, Ben, right next to AMC, and
Are
I
they
can't...
allowed to do that?
I don't know.
I don't know how they must be because he had a drink
and
his food and everything and sat down.
Well, I'm pretty sure I saw the lady, like, she had a big old purse and then it's like, boom.
She also had a teddy bear. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
So
yeah, like, it was actually pretty busy this morning at the movie theater. Just because I think a lot of people from Lockheed Martin went to go see the movie.
See, and that makes sense. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of people just because
you've got like a large, like, people know about that stuff there. Like,
yeah, and like I think some of the directors and actors actually came to our facility, or
cool.
campus. And so they actually kind of toured around, looked at some stuff, talked to like the chief engineers and things like that. So I didn't see any of them because I'm in a different program, but that's
right.
Yep.
So another pet peeve that I've noticed that I didn't realize that was a pet peeve of mine until we moved here is people bringing small children into inappropriate movies. Like, maybe that's the teacher in me that doesn't like that. But, like...
I think that's just common sense.
Yeah. What if you brought a 4-year-old to that movie?
That kid was definitely way younger than 4. He was like 2. He was very small. He sat on his dad's lap the whole time.
Yeah.
That movie wasn't bad to take a kid to, though.
But, like, luckily that child was, like, well-behaved. But, like... It's not like it's a movie that kid's gonna be interested in.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It would go over. I mean, like, you can have the kid just look at the space stuff, but like the material itself is gonna go right over that kid's head.
Yeah, it's not like it was like inappropriate as far as content wise. It was more just inappropriate like age wise, because that kid's not gonna understand anything that's going on. So like the chances of that child becoming like agitated or like unruly like were a lot higher because he's gonna get bored.
There was an 8-year-old, probably a first grader of yours or something, at Crawl this summer, which is a movie about
like
alligators and hurricanes, things that both exist. And honestly, in that movie, it's not out of this realm of anything that happened in that could happen in this
Right,
in the
that's
real
true.
world. So I'm like, really, you're gonna put that? That would like be like if mom put you let you watch Twister in the theaters, man. Your favorite Helen Hunt movie.
Oh my gosh, I'm
I was terrified
horrified
of
of that
that
movie too.
I was so
Straight
terrified
terrified.
of that movie.
And I didn't even
I
see it in the
did
theater.
forget.
My grandma owned that movie. And it was like one that my cousins like to watch at her house, and it horrified me. So glad to see I'm not the only
Violent
person
tornadoes.
scarred from that movie.
But yeah, bringing young kids.
Like, it was different. Like, we went and saw Angry Birds 2. And, like, there was a woman there with, like probably, like, a 1.5, 2-year-old child. But, like, that movie's made for children. So, like,
Yeah.
that I can get on board with. But the one thing that was annoying, like, the little boy wasn't, like, annoying in that movie last night. It was his dad. His dad kept getting up, like, every couple minutes and, like, leaving the theater and then coming back and then leaving the theater and then coming back. And I was like, sit down! Like,
Yeah, honestly, Ben, I would say the worst thing, the worst people at movie theaters that we've noticed aren't even the kids.
it's the adults!
It's the
adults.
adults.
Yeah, the adults are pretty bad.
Probably
The
the
kids are actually really good because they just like watching TV.
yeah. So
That's so true.
It's funny.
they'll talk and stuff, but like Alexis said, I mean, if it's a kids movie, like you totally go into it. They actually have this thing. They have this thing at one of the theaters, one of the AMC theaters in Phoenix, that it's called sensory. So basically,
Yeah.
you go into it like this is a movie theater that you can talk. It's like being in your living room, which I think is a pretty good idea.
Also, the
I don't know
AMC
if many
theaters...
people would go to it though,
I-
unless they have kids.
That's true, yeah, unless you have children and you're
Yeah.
like, my kid's kind of loud. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take him to this one. Like, but they also, at these AMC theaters, have, like, a lot of them have on-site daycare facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, drop-off facilities where you can just, like, say, hey, like, going to this movie, this is the times, we'll be back in 2 hours. Like, here's my child.
Oh, okay.
Like, which is kind of nice if you're someone that, like, you want a date night, but, like, you can't get a hold of a sitter, or your sitter, like, bails out and you already have tickets.
That's
like,
actually a super good idea.
yeah, it's a good idea. Not the AMC we go to in Glendale, but the AMC in Surprise has one.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
So, like, but it's cute. You can see, like, the kids playing, and there's toys and, you know, workers. And so, I mean, it's a good idea, like a drop-off facility for parents. That way, like, they don't have to bring their children into inappropriate movies if they don't have, like, if they don't want to.
Right.
But
Yeah.
one specific time of, like, really rude people was when we went to The Lion King, like,
That-
the remake.
That was something.
So they didn't sit right next to me, so I guess kudos on their part. But, like, they were, like, 1 or 2 seats away from me, and it was, like, a mom, a dad, and, like, 4 kids, and a grandma. And
Yikes.
I gathered that the grandma did not speak much English because, like, she didn't really say anything or react, and when the kids talked, she just kind of sat there and ignored it, like, and then when they got up, like, she only spoke Spanish to them, so, like, my theory was correct at the end. But so these parents, like, nothing against them, but these parents were, like, large and in charge people.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom must have been, like, really uncomfortable because she just could not sit still. She kept, like, switching spots and, like, leaning forward in her seat. And then, like, every time she'd move, her husband would loudly go, "You okay?" And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, over and over again. And I almost wanted to be like, shh, like,
And
stop.
Kid you not. It
That
was
so funny.
kid you not. It was during the Mufasa scene where, spoiler alert, I think everybody on this planet.
He dies!
You okay?
Oh, no.
Like the second you see him trampled, you okay? I'm like, oh my gosh.
But then they, like, not only that, but then, like, when she wasn't, like, wiggling around in her seat and he was asking her if she was fine, she was, like, like, cuddled up so close to him, she might as well have been sitting in his lap. And they were like holding each other's hands and like kissing, and I was like, oh my god, this is like so uncomfortable. Your children are with you. Like, why are you doing this to them and to me? Like,
kids are distracted.
well, and then the kids had one moment where I was kind of like, for real, like, they were older kids. They weren't like little kids. They were probably like 5th grade and up. And so, like, something happened towards the end of the movie. I don't even remember, like, when they were, like, fighting the hyenas and stuff. And, like, they were winning, and all the kids started clapping. And I was like, okay, like, it's one thing if you're, like, a small child, and you're like, woohoo! Like, but, like, I was like, these kids are, like, old enough to know that that's annoying.
Yeah,
and then they just continued.
They still do it anyways.
They just continued to do it. And, like they clapped for, like, way longer than they should have. Like...
Well, I mean,
and, like,
they got
their parents,
mom and daddy
like,
making out.
yeah, and their parents didn't do jack about it. And I was like, what is happening right now? Like,
good old family fun.
but, like, yeah, besides that one moment, the kids and, like, were way better behaved than the parents were that whole time. Like,
yeah.
But the dad in that family, it, like, kept getting up and, like, okay, they were sitting, I shit you not, sorry for my language, but I shit you not, that they were sitting, like, 6 chairs from the end, and nobody was on that side of them.
Yeah,
and we're in the fancy movie theater where it's, like, recliners, and when the recliners are, like, all the way reclined, like, it's not a very big space to walk in front of.
I mean, it should be if you're, I mean...
It's just not that much of a space.
No.
Right.
But, like...
Especially if you're larger.
Yeah, so this man, like I said, is large and in charge, and he's sitting 6 seats away from the end of the row with nobody that way. But he chooses to walk the long way in front of everyone else in their reclined seats to get in and out. And I was like, what are you doing? Like...
Some people just at movie theaters just don't belong at movie theaters.
Yeah.
It was just so incredibly rude. Like, that was by far one of the worst, like, movie-going, like, experience. Like,
that was one of the worst. I have my worst.
That's why
one.
I mean, I don't know when you guys went to The Lion King, but I think in the morning, when people go in the morning, you get more of the civil people.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. I like...
That's true.
Morning movies are great because, like, once you're done, it's like, oh, it's like 1 o'clock.
I know, you got the whole day. And that's the thing, like, I would have, there's been, like, some football games and stuff I wanted to see the last couple Saturdays and stuff, and that's why we've went on Friday nights, and yeah, I mean, we've seen people drunk at movie theaters. You can drink at the AMCs.
Yeah, they have a bar in the...
Yep.
Yeah, let's get wasted and watch Toy Story 4!
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Fun.
No better way.
Yeah, and I do have... Ben, do you have, one...
Like a worst movie-going experience?
Yeah, because I got one.
Because of the audience, not because of the movie.
Do I? Gosh, I don't know.
We can let you think on it while David tells his.
Yeah,
I think you know mine, Ben. You were there. I went with our cousins, Joe and Steve, and Uncle Dwayne, and we went to see the second National Treasure, which, this kind of scarred me, because, Nicolas Cage was kind of, this was the time where he was trying to get a house in every single continent, so he was making like 10 movies a year kind of thing. He was doing everything. And he was just out. Yeah, he was balling out. And it was the second one. The movie itself, I didn't think it was good, but there was a lady. Our cats
ignore our cats. Yep. They're arguing.
Okay, but there was a lady in there that it's one of those movies, the action movies that with the comedy, and sometimes like, that's funny because there's some comedic relief in this action movie. This lady was laughing during everything. Like literally everything. Anytime Nicolas Cage is like, I've got to find this, or like anything. She's just laughing. There's a guy that dies in it, and she's laughing. Like, I think at the end of the movie, like, the guy's like, no, keep going. I'm going to, like, he's, like, blocking a dam. I don't even know. But, like, he dies, and she's like, ha-ha! And it was, like, non-stop laughing. She thought everything Nicolas Cage was doing, or anyone else was doing, anybody dying, she was all for it. She was just laughing. I mean, thank God I didn't watch The Wicker Man, and she was in there. Oh, the bees, not the bees. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was non-stop laughing.
That's so annoying.
And, that was that kind of scarred me in like any Nicolas Cage.
Well, you know how I feel about Nicolas Cage.
Do you know that Nicolas Cage, he was going to be Superman?
I know. He was supposed to be way bigger. Yeah, he was supposed to be way bigger of a deal than he ended up being. Yeah. Thank God.
There's actually pictures of him in a Superman uniform, and he's with long hair, like
gross.
Long hair.
Stop. No.
In the 80s, yeah.
He's so gross. I can't.
The guy from Big Bang Theory, he does a killer Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, well, I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. His favorite.
I don't know. Whenever we ever went with a movie with Mom and Dad, all four of us, there was always someone that was annoying. It seemed like. Oh
gosh, yeah, and
like
Dad just hates that.
Kicking my chair, or talking. Just biggest pet peeve is people whispering behind me. It's like,
yep.
Or like if they're like talking. Your brother, where they think they're whispering and they're not.
That's why I straight up just don't say anything during the movie.
Well, your brother's issue is that like when normal people whisper to each other, they whisper in each other's ears. Your brother whispers to my shoulder. That's
a Davidism.
Like, he whispers into my shoulder, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me. I can't hear you.
He does that to everybody.
Yep.
So then he'll be like, okay, I'll tell you later.
Do it at the bar. Good. Yeah, I'll do it, like, we'll be out and about, like, at a bar or something, and it's like, David, how am I going to hear you through my shirt? And I'm like, I don't know.
You just don't want to get too close to the face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one thing... I should post this video on our site. We'll post this. But I think the funniest kind of representation of like movie etiquette of is from Mad TV. There was one this guy in it. So there's like one woman in it in the movie theater, and this guy walks in. And just like, dang! You seen that?
Yeah.
Yo, Ma, can I get your number? And just sits like right next, like at
right
first,
behind her.
Yeah, right behind her, and then he like ends up sitting right next to her.
He's like hitting on her the whole time.
I mean, that's just, he's got every bad qualities. I mean, that was before texting, but like he has every bad qualities of a bad moviegoer right there, and that's just
it is funny actually.
Perfect representation.
It is a very good representation. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, we've hit our halfway point. We've discussed annoying movie-going properties, I guess. So...
why we brought you on.
So, like I said before, David's brother works for Lockheed Martin in Colorado. For those of you that don't know, roundabout, Ben, what is Lockheed Martin exactly?
What can you tell us?
So, Lockheed Martin is... So currently and for quite some time actually, is the #1 defense contractor in the world, and specifically the United States. So we supply weapons, forms of defense. We also do deep space exploration for the government. We work closely with NASA, United Launch Alliance.
So, quite literally, it is rocket science.
Oh my gosh!
It is
we did telepathy. I was going to use
that. I took David's joke.
We do a lot of work with fighter jets. The famous one right now is the F-35. Another one, we do rotary missions systems, RMS, and we do stuff with like Apache helicopters and mission planning. What else is there's aeronautics, like I said, F-35 jets, RMS. There's what else do we have? There's like cybersecurity. I'm in space. I'm in the space division, so anywhere from like Air Force satellites to deep space exploration to just everything. Helping with building of rocket fairings and engines and all you can imagine with space.
So something.
Lockheed Martin employs 105,000 employees, and I think there's about 60,000 engineers.
Wow.
So it's a big company.
So something big is going to happen, big finding or goings in the space program. It's going to probably be from you guys in the upcoming future.
Oh, yeah.
Safe to say.
So one of our, we're actually building, we're in the process of building Orion, which is the spacecraft to land, basically, put it forth basically, is that it's the spacecraft to land astronauts on the moon and then future Mars missions. So We're going to work closely with NASA, and I don't think we're doing anything with SpaceX on that, but we do launch some payloads with SpaceX rockets. But mainly like United Launch Alliance rockets. We also make our own rockets with Boeing and United Launch Alliance. So yeah,
that sounds awesome and really difficult at the same time. So
yeah, it's very complicated.
So as you can see, Ben does a lot with. He literally works in the deep space exploration sector of Lockheed Martin. So after we saw the movie last night, we were driving home, and I looked at David and I said, "I'm calling your brother." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Because I have space questions and I need them answered." So I did. I called Ben, and then I asked him a bunch of questions about the movie, and he gave me his best guesstimate roundabout of an answer, because obviously he was at home, not prepared for space questions. But so, for those of you who don't know, Ad Astra is a movie starring Brad Pitt. And it's in the not so distant future, which I think I determined it was 2121. Isn't that what the thing said at the end?
I think so, yeah.
So
I didn't pay attention too much because I got disappointed near the end.
But everything's more advanced. They built this really tall satellite way up into the atmosphere so that they could communicate with space, and there's a community on the moon, and there's a community on Mars, and Earth has just begun really exploring deep space. So the concept is this man, Brad Pitt, is an astronaut, and he's the best astronaut, cream of the crop, he's amazing at his job. And the only reason he became an astronaut is because his dad was one before him, and his dad went on this mission when Brad Pitt was a teenager, and that sent him out to Neptune to basically, this mission was to find extraterrestrial life. And his dad has just never come back from this mission. They just assumed he was lost at space. Something went wrong, he was gone. And so there's a lot of things in this movie that for someone who doesn't know anything about space, David and I, if you didn't know any better, or you didn't have the resources Ben to tell you any better, you would just go, okay, yeah, that could happen, I think, right? Yeah, that seems legit. But there's one part that I warned Ben about last night, that even if a small child would be able to know that is impossible.
Yeah, are you guys doing spoilers on this or no?
What do you think? We usually don't. But...
We usually don't, because I don't want to veer people from not seeing it, because that's our opinion, not
okay,
the whole world's opinion. But as long as you don't give away the whole ending of the movie, you can talk about specific parts.
Right.
I mean, we don't want to give out the spoiler.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't give away the ending.
But
you could talk about
a
chunkets.
Scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we talk about
So, like, okay, what was one of the questions I asked you last night, Ben? Okay, so let's say one of the questions that I wouldn't have known otherwise was this spaceship that the spacecraft that his dad took out to Neptune when he was, like, 16, has, like, obviously been in orbit for, like, 40 years now. Like, and I just wasn't sure that, like, spacecrafts had a lifespan like that. Like, that, like, 40-year-old technology was still going to be relevant and functioning, like, in, like, that time frame.
Right. So, I was thinking about that, too, and I would assume by that point, I mean, we have spacecraft that has a long life cycle. I mean, we have the Voyager, like, it's deteriorating, and I think I can't remember. I think we launched it in 1977, and it's still going on, but it's slowly dying and losing its life. But I think it was set in 21, so that's like 100 years.
Technology would be super advanced.
That's true, I guess.
Let's say everything's going well. All the budgeting is still going towards deep space exploration consistently over time for 100 years. Yes, we could probably have, more than likely would have space vehicles, spacecraft.
With, like, that long of a shelf life?
With that long of a shelf life, because I think we have some spacecraft that can operate to over 100 years and still be very well operational. You would design it differently as if you were going to the moon. You'd have to design it smaller. You'd have to design it become a little bit more efficient.
Sure.
There's a different type of energy source you would use, obviously, because the sun's further away. You'd probably have to harness some type of nuclear power, or I know we're experiencing with some type of ion propulsion for deep space. So it just depends on the energy source, because that it is definitely possible, given all the other circumstances that come into play with research and development and things of that sort.
Okay, see, so that was one of the questions that, like, if if I'm a regular person like me going to the theater, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I'd have been like, okay. Like,
yeah.
Whereas, like, someone like you with your background and knowledge could potentially sit there and be like, okay, some of this stuff isn't as probable, you know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
But one thing I am positive I know enough about is early in the movie when he is...
We're going to talk about the monkey in the room?
Yes! I'm going to talk about the monkey in the room.
Literally.
Early in the movie, he's traveling to space, right? And...
You were expecting something, but you weren't expecting that, huh?
that was just...
I know I'm right on this.
Okay, when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Sorry for my language.
Sorry, Bob!
But I was just thinking...
I warned you!
One thing, the spaceship would still have to be off, and there would still have to be, they would still have to have, like, locks. They would have to have, like, airlocks still in place.
Clearly it does not.
Necessarily the case, because all the astronauts had their suits on and their helmets on still. So it begs a question as whether there was still air.
Right. So that's where I was at first. When they got on it, I was like, why are they even looking for anyone? Because clearly they're still in their suits. And, like, it didn't seem to me like there were airlocks or anything either. So I'm thinking, why are they looking for living people? Like, clearly these people did not survive. Like...
And that was a dead ship. Like, you could obviously tell that everybody in there was, dead.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just gone. And so, like, you see these monkeys, and you're like, where did this come from?
And the fact that these monkeys
are
still alive, like...
They're still alive.
And active. They have full strength.
Yeah, and then,
they're like...
And then, if you were questioning whether there was oxygen in there or not, like... When the monkey breaks the space helmet of, like, one of the guys, and instantly this guy starts to, like, literally die because he doesn't have oxygen. So I'm thinking, wait, this man just died because there's no oxygen. Yet the monkeys
Yep, they're
I was
good.
just thinking about that too. I'm like, how could the Lockheed engineers let that pass?
How could anyone who knows anything about space, like, I don't know jack about space, but I know that there's not oxygen in space. Like,
At first, when I saw it, I'm like, oh shit, this is like a sci-fi alien movie. It's probably going to be an alien or
see,
something.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. But then
It was a
the
monkey.
baboon just appeared.
Literally a baboon. 2 of them.
And then it was so underwhelming of the whole plot of the movie. There's
Yes,
no reason
exactly.
to go there.
No monkeys anywhere else in the movie, no.
That
And
was,
then
but
Brad
also
Pitt
you
goes
have
to
to
some-
admit that was like the most exciting plot point.
Yeah.
That
There's
was the most
not
exciting
a
part.
lot of action in it.
Okay, Ben, I need to
No.
know how you felt about Brad Pitt's performance, because I've heard a lot going around that this is like an Oscar winner for him.
Ugh.
I think he did well. I mean, it's...
Yeah, you met actual astronauts, so how is that?
I mean, I guess
His
they try
manner.
to compare it to Ryan Reynolds' performance in First Man, which I thought was a fantastic movie. I thought he killed that role. This one, yeah, I think he was good. I don't think he was great, so to speak.
Right. I mean, I
Like you
felt
guys
like
said, I thought he was very monotonous, very
Yeah.
monotone.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it just because I liked space and I liked, how all that
The
worked.
visuals
Like
were
how they went to the-
Yeah, that's
Right.
one
how they
thing I
went
said
the
to
moon
David.
And then they went to Mars. I thought that was really cool. Like, seeing the habitats on both,
Yeah,
the
I
moon.
thought I told David the same thing. I said, if you're someone that like really appreciates like
It's almost-
good camera work,
Yeah, it was
and,
almost like a art piece because like
Yes.
you could have
That's
just
what I was
put it on
thinking,
mute and just watch it.
yeah, because
It
like
was-
the visuals were super cool.
Yeah, the visuals were awesome. I thought the visuals were fantastic. I thought it had a good message, so to speak. I
Yeah.
thought the movie itself had a really cool message and very, it was very different. It wasn't kind of the plot how you would expect.
Nope.
Because you would expect like some explosions at the end, and
Mhm.
the hero comes through, blah blah blah. It just felt like it felt depressing almost.
Yeah,
Entirely.
but I feel like it opened up like he in that sense is like the future soldiers of America. You know what I mean? Like it kind of opened up how like he is not himself because of the career path he's chosen, which happens
Right.
to a lot of like soldiers now.
Yeah.
Like they're not who they are meant to be or supposed to be or were before they went into action because of their job.
And it was interesting, like,
Right.
all they really cared about is if you were... He took the psychological
He had to
eval
take one all the time. Yeah.
all the time. But it was really interesting because, like, he would say some crazy things.
And
like,
still
eventually,
pass.
And still pass. All they care about is his
Heart rate
physical
and, like-
ability. Like, if his heart rate... Because then he was saying things...
Like he was
that
getting
were
a little bit
fine.
more emotional about something, and like they were like, "Your heart rate's too high. We have to send you back to Earth." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Okay." Like
I'm like, the other
Yeah.
time, he's, like, saying, like...
he sounded like legit suicidal, like a crazy man.
But
and they
his
were
heart
like,
rate was fine.
and they were
so-
like, "Evaluation passed." I'm like, what?"
And I feel like, he was just... They just needed him to do that, and, like, as long as he was physically fit, I mean...
Then they were
It
fine.
doesn't matter what's coming out of your mouth. That's
I
what
guess.
was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that was a little too much. It's like, okay, the guy's already in space. You already know there's going to be some, he's already going to take a mental toll
It's just
on
like-
himself because they're traveling that far. It's like, and he's dealing with top secret missions, so
Yeah.
they want him to be like extra physically fit.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was
I
very
kept
interesting.
finding myself thinking, like, I don't remember what movie this is from, but I literally kept finding myself thinking, like, when he was, like, towards the end, when, he was really struggling, like, mentally, and, like, I kept finding myself thinking, he's got the space madness, like, I'm like, I don't remember what that's from, but I'm like, he's got the space madness. It's happening. He's got it.
Moon's one of those movies that's a good one.
But that's all I could think about. Like, so Benjamin.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts. Here's how I know that Ben is a wonderful little brother to have because he's also like our top listener. So thank you, Benjamin.
Number one fan.
So he probably knows how this works, but for everyone else, we do a GPGR rating. G means go at your own risk, as in like, you wouldn't waste the money. You could probably wait for it to stream. PG is like, you should probably go. It's pretty good. Like, you wouldn't feel like you got cheated out of a $12 ticket. Like, it was a good one. You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, came back at even. Yep.
R would be, you haven't seen this, you need to go see it today. Mm-hmm. How would Ben, Lockheed Martin Benjamin, Spaceman, rate this movie?
I'm gonna say if you're a Lockheed Martin employee,
David's phone just rang.
Bad podcast.
So I would say, as a Lockheed Martin employee, I would say R, just because we had a big influence in this movie.
Sure.
That's the reason I went.
So that's coming from, like, you as a literal space engineer background.
Your fellow ISU grads in the aerospace engineer. That's what Ben went.
So people who do the kind of things you do for a living, you would say would very much enjoy this movie.
Who appreciate space. It's a different take. I kind of expected an interstellar feel going into it. That is not what you're going to get with this movie. Mm-hmm. There's a different message that's being provided, but it's still cool. I think the imagery is super nice, which people that love space, love engineering are going to appreciate. I think it has a cool take. Like, there's a cool message that's being brought up, like deeply philosophical and things of that, and human nature. And like kind of taking things too far and your ambitions too far and kind of losing sight of yourself, and I think it's really cool.
Okay, outside of Lockheed Martin Ben, I want to know, like,
outside of Lockheed
just
Martin,
regular Ben.
Yes,
I would say I spent $7 on a ticket. I would say PG. I would say definitely. Just,
you're gonna break even. It's going to be worth the $7 that you spent.
Yeah, I would just be like, it was cool to watch. Are you going to go watch it again? No.
Right.
Are you probably going to get it? Are you probably going to buy it? Maybe. I mean, if you kind of just, you feel like watching
sci-fi,
and it's Brad Pitt, and like, let's say he obviously wins let's say he wins an Oscar, you'd probably buy it. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'd say PG for just a regular person.
Yeah.
If you're not into space at all, like if you're not interested in like engineering or things like that, don't go. It's a G.
It is. This is the hardest one so far in that regard. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but like, yeah, it really is a different. There's different
strokes for different folks.
Sure, because
kind of
if you're an actor follower, I mean. Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones,
right?
The older Sutherland was in it. Liv Tyler was in it.
Yeah, I love Liv Tyler. So
I mean, she did. I don't know if she even said more than a couple sentences in it, but
she's got such an iconic beauty that like who she is just from seeing her face.
Yeah, I would say maybe G for me personally, but. It's one of those things, like, go at your own risk. I mean...
You're not going to get that entertainment, like, it's not going to hit your emotions.
But if
it's
you...
be, like, a very thinking kind of movie.
Yeah, if you're like a national... Like, you could do... If you're, like, a National Geographic kind of, like, you
enjoy that.
You like effects in that, like, you just like scenery and stuff. I mean, it's so cool. With that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, David. Like, I think that was, like, there were parts of the movie where I was getting, like, bored. Like, it's a little bit slow. If you're someone like me and not like Ben, who doesn't know, anything about that stuff and doesn't have that appreciation for that work. But parts of it were kind of slow, but the parts that I found myself most excited to see were, like, the parts where he was actually, like, in space. Like, because, like I said, like, it was almost, David compared it to, like, almost an art piece last night. Like, saying, like, if you love good effects in movies and you like good camera angles and you appreciate that area of the work, then it's, like, an awesome thing to go see. But, like, if you're basing it on, like, the storyline and, like, even some of the acting, like, I would also, personally, would say it's a G. But if you're someone who enjoys, like, camera work like that and, like, that kind of work, then it's probably a PG.
Yeah. I mean, engineers, aerospace engineers, like...
Space enthusiasts. Probably going to enjoy it.
It's realistic in the sense of, like, how the technology has developed, because you know, if you follow up with all the deep space exploration or just space stuff in general, you're like, this is what we're trying to progress to, and it's kind of cool to see it manifest in, like, 100 years. But if you're someone that doesn't dive into that at all, gee, like, don't go. It's not going to be worth your time, and you're not going to think it's interesting. Unless you like Brad Pitt. But,
yes.
Well,
and if you're a person that's interested in, like, science and kind of just wants to know a little bit more about this,
then it's, like,
a
good one.
It's probably go. It's not something you should just hang your head down if you miss it. It's definitely not.
So.
Interstellar, for me, if you're going to, like, say if this was Interstellar, I would say it's an R through and through, because it is so wild.
So would you say Interstellar is, like, your favorite kind of space movie?
More
realistic?
No, the most realistic is The First Man, which is going over Neil Armstrong's adventure to the moon. I would say more realistic sci-fi, I would say, is on a stretch is Interstellar. Because, like, a lot of scientists really try to, like, nitpick it and say, oh yeah, this could happen, like, this is... I like how they, you know, like, use gravity in the film, with how gravity kind of changes time and how higher dense areas in the universe, time slows down.
Right.
So I thought that was super cool, and it's very, you know, it's people that had no idea of that and didn't understand the physics behind it, just, like, came away from the movie, it's like, what the heck was that? Like, that doesn't seem possible. But someone that, you know, really is familiar with that type of work, it's like, oh yeah,
that's possible, right?
Happened, yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, thank you, Ben, for being our little guest star on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We'll keep you on till after it, but yeah. So
I've been thinking. I think next week.
Okay.
I know that some of my friends have talked to me about a possibility of another episode, like an idea for an episode. So next week there's not really a movie that we're, like, jonesing to go see, or even, like, one that we're, like, terribly into like, even just kind of remotely into seeing.
It's kind of the calm before the storm, because if Ben is another one, I mean, he just want to see this movie. They're coming at a strong starting in October. Like,
there's quite a few coming out.
Powerhouse movies coming out.
So it's just kind of that lull
but
time.
It's a little low right now.
Oh, yeah.
But one of my friends... Oh, go ahead.
You're going to have the Joker coming in October.
Right.
You're going to have... I mean, this is kind of a smaller one, but looks really cool and has some big actors. Is Ford vs. Ferrari.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That looks super cool. And then, obviously, you know, you have Star Wars coming at the end of the year.
Yep. Dr. Sleep.
What was another one? Will You Be My Neighbor?
Oh, I want to
forgot.
see that so bad. So, yeah, we've got quite a few coming up. So right now it's just kind of like that lull for movies. But one of my friends suggested maybe doing a comparison for the classic Disneys that we just recently got remade.
Oh, we want to talk about our
comparison.
favorite... Oh, okay.
No, how we felt about the original versus the remakes.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that's a possibility for next week. Or we'll just... talk talk about some movies that we've already seen, give some reviews for those,
Yeah,
because
maybe
as
do a
you all
summary
know, we've
summary
seen
review.
plenty of movies in
If
the
you don't
last
mind, like
couple
a
months.
suggestion,
Yes.
well, this is something you guys can do like on your own time, but I would suggest looking up a Jordan Peterson lecture, and he does in-depth psychology analysis on The Lion King and like the Pinocchio movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting. So
Jordan
he kind of, like,
Peterson. All right.
Jordan Peterson, and he does like it's like he bases it off a person's like psychoanalytical work, and he kind of does lectures on it. So it's kind of something you listen to,
Nice.
but it kind of breaks down the film
Cool.
in an interesting way. So it's super cool. So I suggest looking into it. You know, like I know you guys are big. I know Alexis is big into Disney, so.
And I'm getting it. I am definitely getting into it. I always watched Disney, but yeah, getting the love for Disney too, along with my crazy horror movie brain.
Yep.
Well, that I think is all she wrote about Ad Astra. So to recap, Ben says, if you are into space, if you have any interest, if you're working in any kind of space capacity, you're probably gonna want to go see it. It's probably an R for you, but him as a person says, you know, it was worth the ticket, so it's a PG. Both David and I put it at a G, just because we're not like Ben. It's not our cup of tea. It's not our thing. But, you know, don't let our analysis keep you from seeing it if it's something you're interested in. Don't let Rotten Tomatoes influence your
Like always,
reaction either.
Yeah, I'm never looking at. After you guys said not to look at the ratings, I'm definitely not looking at the ratings because it's so true.
Just
like,
do it
they're
afterwards.
So wrong.
Just do it
So
afterwards. Yeah.
Because you could tell they have like other ambitions when
Exactly.
reviewing a movie. It's like, okay,
They want to help.
I'm good.
It's like maybe they have. I don't know if they have sponsorships with some of these movies. I have no idea. But yeah, it's just look afterwards. Just see.
Exactly.
We're calling you out, Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, Ben,
Literally.
wouldn't you think,
Coming
Ben,
for you.
Ben, wouldn't you think our mom is one, like, she kind of I wouldn't say she bases it, but, like, she likes looking at Rotten Tomatoes before even, watching a movie. Like, this summer, like, I said, oh, I'm gonna see this, and she's like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes said it's bad. I'm like, well, I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes says.
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of people do base their
And
reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
it's a great source. It's kind of like, remember going to if you had to do a book report or something like Spark Notes.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Spark
Like
Notes.
you should read the book before
You should just. I just feel like it's always safe to say, like, just to form your own opinion. Kind of like when you meet a new person. Like, Ben could say, I don't like that girl, I think she's annoying, and then I could meet her and be like, oh, I like her. Like,
Yeah, it's
everybody's different.
you have your own opinions, and you should be able to form your own instead of adopting another person's.
if the movie looks interesting to you,
Go.
and the trailer's like, ooh, that's cool, go see it.
Mhm.
And you watch and you're like, that didn't really fulfill my expectations, or it's like, oh, that was actually way better than I thought it was going to be. And then you see the reviews, and it's just like, what?
What
Right.
movie are they saying? I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's more of like, I don't like Rotten Tomatoes because movies are another form of art, so to speak. It's
Exactly.
It's
like
kind of an
going up to a
abstraction.
painting, It's like
Yeah.
it's like going up to a painting. It's like, oh, I get Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 95%. It's like, what? It's like not what I get from it.
Right.
So
So you heard it. You heard it from us. Now you
Yeah.
hear it from Ben.
Our first guest on the podcast, which I don't think can get a better first guest.
It just was so relevant.
Yeah.
why? Thank you, David.
I know, and that's saying something because he's my younger brother. I mean, I should hate the guy, right?
He could have been the worst first guest.
Oh my gosh, I know. But I mean, it's a slam dunk. I mean, we have a
was
rocket scientist
in
and
the family.
yeah. I mean, you use our resources. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was good timing. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, and everyone. We will talk to you next week.
Yeah. See ya.
All right, thank you.
Bye.